Good evening. Can we request you all to please rise to welcome President Mbeki? We'll now be playing the national anthem of South Africa.
Sigeleni Afrika, maluphakanyiswa uphondo lwayo, izwa imithandazo yethu. Nkosi, sigelela thina, lusapho lwayo, murena kulunga sitshaba sayesu. Ufedise dintwale maswenyeho, usibuluke, usibuluke, sitshaba sayesu, sitshaba sa South Africa, South Africa. Ethi blofa nonseyeme, ethi tipte Sounds a call to come together, and united we shall stand. Let us live and strive for freedom in South Africa.
You can now take your seats. So a warm welcome to all of you to the third edition of Cape Town Conversation. I'm Sunaina Kumar, Director at the Center for New Economic Diplomacy at ORF in Delhi. And I am part of the team that has curated the ideas that you will be hearing today and over the next 2 days. And we are counting on you to help us shape and hone some of those ideas. Thank you for joining us from all parts of the world in this city, which has been a meeting point of oceans and continents and a strategic gateway for global exchange. Cape Town Conversation was started by ORF and the Thabo Mbeki Foundation in 2023 at the end of the Indian G20 presidency at a pivotal time for the Global South as the African Union was inducted into the G20. As we get together this year, the South African G20 has just concluded, setting the stage for a defining moment for the African continent and for the rest of the world. And to tell us more about this, I'm going to first invite Max Boqwana, who is Chief Executive Officer at the Mbeki Foundation, to the stage.
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, our partners who have made this event a possibility, friends, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third installment of the Cape Town Conversations. We met a few kilometers away from this place last year, and at that point we were joined by the most leaders of our government as we discussed various issues that should inform the African leg of the G20. And we vowed to gather again today to reflect on the year that was. And here we are to do just that. Indeed, many of you must have observed yesterday, just a short flight away in Johannesburg, the leaders of the world's largest economies concluding the G20 Leaders Summit. Leading up to that summit, the diplomatic headwinds were fierce, the geopolitical fissures were deep, and the skepticism was palpable. Many pundits predicted a stalemate. Some whispered that the center will not hold. Yet, under the wave of African spirit, grounded in the themes of solidarity, equality, and sustainability, we witness a triumph of diplomacy. Against the odds, a consensus was reached. The leaders' declaration was signed. It is a great showpiece, not just for Africa, but for the global South and for the enduring spirit of multilateralism. It proved that even when the global order is fraying under the strain of intensifying conflicts marked by irrationality, dialogue remains our most potent weapon. However, a declaration is just a piece of paper with many promises, reassurances, undertakings, wishes, and I dare say dreams. The hard work, the work of turning shaky consensus under the weight of the US intransigence into concrete reality begin now. This room can shape how we think about turning those ideas into reality. For if we cannot afford to postpone for a day, freeing our people from impoverishment and ignorance. The Thabo Mbeki Foundation remains steadfastly dedicated to multilateralism. We do not view it as an abstract concept, but as the only viable vehicle to foster global cooperation. In a world where trade wars, unsettled economies, climate change shocks intensifies, deepening levels of poverty, needless conflicts and wars, no nation can afford to stand alone. We therefore see this Cape Town conversation not only as our modest contribution to this endeavor, but a vital bridge. A bridge between the high-level commitments made in Bali, Delhi, Rio, and Johannesburg, and the practical implementation required on the ground to make positive impact on the masses of the Global South. A bridge between aspirations of the Global South and the engagement of the international community, and a bridge that connects the what of policy to the how of delivery. Over the next 2 days, we will discuss the 5 pillars that define this year's agenda. The first of that pillar is rails for new globalization, building the infrastructure that makes global economy fairer and non-humiliating. The second pillar is the growth transition, balancing climate imperatives with the urgent need for industrialization and manufacturing, thus responding to the urgent crisis of hunger for jobs. The third pillar is the new techno-order, that of ensuring that artificial intelligence serves as a tool for inclusion, not a wedge of inequality and policy capture. The fourth of those pillars is the global order in transition, finding stability amidst great power rivalries. The last one is the acceleration of the strategic development goals for the billions currently left behind and respond honestly to the question, why do we fail? Ladies and gentlemen, as we engage in these pillars, We must recall the words President Mbeki shared at the South Summit in Havana almost 19 years ago. He said then that the search for personal gain and advantage cannot be the only engine of progress. That we must fight to ensure the democratization of the international institutions of governance. Those tasks remain. But today, armed with the outcomes of the South Africa's G20 presidency, following on that of other countries of the South, Indonesia, India, and Brazil, and the collective voice of the African Union, our capacity to act is ever greater. However, we must continue to ask the difficult questions. Is our participation in the G20 translating into influence? Inclusion must surely mean more than a seat. It must mean the power to shape outcomes, even if the rest disagrees with us. Are we reshaping the financial architecture? We need blended finance and risk-sharing mechanisms to replace traditional and declining aid. This system must work for the billions of the people of the South, not just the few in the North. Are we actively shaping new tools of power as the Artificial Intelligence Impact Summit approaches in 2026? Are we going to be the makers and shapers of technology, or simply its consumers? We must advocate for inclusive policies that reflect the true interest of developing nations. We must ensure that emerging techno-order reflects our realities and that our critical minerals are harnessed to build local value, not just to feed the global supply chains. To this end, we must retain our sovereignty instead of being dictated to. In this regard, I must express my deepest appreciation to my dearest brother, Dr. Samir, Saran, and his incredible team at Observer Research Foundation. These are the pioneers of this program. These are the people that for the past 3 years made it possible for us to be here. They made it possible for the ordinary intellectuals, academics, activists to be able to participate in these global discussions. So these pioneers in the Observer Research Foundation deserves all our support. My brother Samir, your team's steadfast commitment to working with the Thabo Mbeki Foundation has been nothing short of exemplary. Since we began 3 years ago, this journey under the Indian G20 presidency, you have walked this path with us shoulder to shoulder. The synergies that we have developed between our organizations is a living testament of South-South cooperation in action. We look forward to many future collaboration as we continue to renew and rebuild. Distinguished guests, the leaders in Johannesburg have done their part. They have cleared the political path. Now the baton passes to us, the thinkers, the captains of industry, the policymakers, and the civil society leaders. To use Mahatma Gandhi's words, the difference between what we do and what we are capable of doing will suffice to solve most of the world's problems. Let us use these next 2 days to breathe life into the Johannesburg consensus and the collective input from various G20 meetings that have been held by the countries of the South. Let us be bold in our ideas and honest in our debates. Please, amongst everything else you are doing, you will note that we will end these sessions before the weekend so that you can be able to take time to enjoy Cape Town and extend your stay. For those that are from outside the Republic of South Africa, this too is your home. Welcome to Cape Town. Let the conversations begin. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Max. And also, we are very grateful to the Mbeki Foundation for the steadfast and enduring partnership. I'm now going to invite Dr. Samir Saran, President of Observer Research Foundation, to the stage.
Thank you, Max, for making me feel mellow and nice. Very warm words, very special, and certainly we have found home away from home with the Thabo Mbeki Foundation, and the person solely responsible for that is President Mbeki. Thank you so much, sir, for the last 3 years of your support and leadership. Let me also acknowledge a very senior Indian leader, Minister Anand Sharma, who's in the room, and countless other friends and colleagues, Ambassador Latha Reddy and many others who I can see, who I hope to benefit from and with their insights and in their interventions in the coming days. Cape Town conversations, this one particularly happens at a very interesting time. 4 years of Global South leadership at the G20 end now. And the baton passes to the US, where it all started in Pittsburgh 20 years ago, or whatever, nearly 19 years ago. G20 in its current avatar was born through the crisis in 2008, 2009, and it goes into a place where it will experience new dynamics and new headwinds of a crazy variety, if I can use that word. And we don't know what we should be expecting from the G20 next year. But the big question for us is that we have done enough in the last 4 years to ensure that we will be able to continue with the determination to make this an organization that is people first, that responds to the development questions of our time, and that responds to the teeming millions and billions who seek to be included in any future architecture. So that's the first moment for this Cape Town conversation. A G20 moment is coming to an end, and a new one is starting. And can we carry our learnings into this new phase of the G20? The second big change that has happened since we started the Cape Town conversation is that we have a new kind of intelligence, not only the artificial intelligence, but also a new assessment of the world we live in. And those are being captured by what I would call 3 big conversations taking place at the same time. The first conversation is a conversation of power. Some believe that their power had been eroded over time, and they want to ensure that their writ runs large. And you can see that there are negotiations happening to ensure countries comply with the blueprint and the plan that certain powerful countries, most principally the US, but certain others as well, who seek compliance and in many ways acquiescence to the designs they have for the future. And that's one kind of conversation. They're not the only ones. It's happening in regions, it's happening in other parts of the world as well. Some people are using the grammar of conflict and contest and war. Some are using trade and other tools. But within regions across the world, we are seeing power conversations happening rampantly. Being nice is no longer fashionable. Being ruthless is in vogue, and that's one part of the world we deal with. The second conversation that is happening are purpose conversations, conversations that are purpose-driven. Can we respond to climate change? Can we create new coalitions? Can we build connectivity and infrastructure? Can we create new plurilateral groups to make this happen? Can we work together on technology to help millions and billions? And can we create architectures and cluster of countries who can work together on technology for good and AI for all and solve the big challenges? They're purpose-driven conversations. But the third most conversation that should be taking place, it's happening silently, not loudly enough, and we hope Cape Town conversation becomes an arena for that, becomes the place and the venue for that, is the conversation based on principles. It's all good to say that the old order has come to an end, and it's all good to say that the new order is being constructed. But what needs to be discovered is what are the principles that the new order will be built upon. And I don't think there is any global consensus on what are those 4 or 5 or 6 principles that should build the new multilateralism of the 21st century, the new terms of trade, the new terms for peace, the new terms for economic growth, the new terms for our peace treaty with the planet. And I think those principles that will define the 21st century are yet to be discovered. We have destroyed the old without thinking about the design for the new. And that design for the new is going to come out of the conversations, hopefully some of which will be hosted at the Cape Town conversations at this particular conference. And finally, there is a new moment where for the first time we are seeing, because of the connectivity and digitalization and access to information, empowerment of the individual and therefore a primacy of the community that has taken place. It happened during the pandemic when communities started collaborating and supporting each other, and when the governments were locked down and global supply chains were locked down, it was the neighborhood stores and individuals on the streets who collected and responded to the challenges all of us are facing. Communities were born in the pandemic. Communities today are thriving online, are finding each other and are finding common purpose and principles and directions. And communities are meeting in rooms like these. The world of the future is not going to be written in Brussels, Beijing, or Washington, D.C. It's going to be written by communities holding the pen. Don't wait for someone else to come and describe the world of tomorrow. All of us in this room have to be the architects who will shape our future. And Cape Town Conversations is as good a place as any. In fact, perhaps the best place to do this. So I wish you all 3 great days of architecting the future, and thank you for joining us from 55 countries, 200 of you who have flown in. God bless you all, and I'm going to be meeting you all over the next 2 days. Thank you.
Thank you, Samir, for that very generous and thoughtful address and very incisive